The ex-housekeeper, Alex and Jeff.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Doss. What's up, guys? Welcome, insiders. And as you can tell, we have our special guest, Andrew Cabilan. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good, good. Welcome back to the show. This is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah,
Don't call
Happy
it
to
a
be here.
comeback. He's been here for years.
That's right. That's right. This is going to be an awesome show, as you can tell by our title, Longevity in the Martial Arts. And we are going to just share all kinds of different just gems, stories, how all of us, stick with what we do. I was at a tournament with Cameron Whittington, and that was the first thing he asked me. We roomed together at the tournament that weekend in Texas, and he was like, "You've been doing this for a long time. How do you stick, how do you stay motivated? How do you find new goals? How do you do this?" So we're going to share some of that tonight, and hopefully all you guys enjoy it and chime in. All right. One big thing before we want to give a special shout out to someone from the Martial Arts Inter Network, the main game, Hartley. So winning, longtime students, Richard Plowden, and so I was very shocked today, and just keep him and his family in your prayers, guys. All right, so just kind of talk to him a little bit, just text here and there, and so anybody that can just send those shouts out to him, make sure you guys do that. All right.
Can't fathom what you're going through, Joe.
Exactly. I don't even.
We're here, and whatever that we can do, whatever that looks like. I know that's hard to let someone know that you need something. So if other guys around Joe, if you guys are insiders and you guys know of something like that, reach out to others that, hey, he might need this. Hey, he might need that. Because sometimes it's hard for people to say, hey, I need this. Guys don't typically do that.
Right. All right. So one more thing. Virtual Fight Tour is our sponsor, as always, and their next big thing is going to be the Battle of the Dojos. All right.
Hopefully, as always.
Yes, Battle of the Dojo, August 26th. Going to be a huge event. 8 karate schools that they have lined up. They're going to go head to head against each other in a tournament style. It's going to be an action-packed thing. So make sure you guys watch the future of our sport, right? And watch the old school way, right? Of us going dojo versus dojo against each other. Before there wasn't teams back in the day. It was we would represent our school,
Word.
right? So
like Cobra Kai over again.
yeah. Cobra Kai or
right.
Side kicks, man. That was one of my favorite ones. Side kicks.
Actually, I think it is a little bit more like sidekicks.
Yeah.
And there's
side
going to be some kid out there doing a form demo, just like Kim Do did.
Maybe so. Yep. Maybe
You
so.
guys remember that when Kim Do was on sidekicks and he went out there doing the machine gun kicks in a circle? You guys remember that, right?
Yeah, and Linda Denley did a form in that movie.
Did I miss that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she did Gong Sang
I gotta go back and watch it.
Yeah. What's funny is that I was just telling before we came on. I was just telling Andrew about the tournament that I went to, the AOK tournament I went to in Texas, and the promoter of that event, George Minshew, which was Karate Olympics, that was his tournament that was in the movie. Okay,
Get
they shot
outta
some of
here.
that. Yeah, so
It was like an actual tournament that was happening. It wasn't a whole like staged thing.
They kind of did it throughout. Yeah, they made it, at the Karate Olympics, or they used all of his setup for his tournament, pretty much.
Wow.
And made it so
Nice
it's pretty
little
cool.
nugget.
Yeah. So, all right. So, man, this is going to be a big one. I'm excited for that. what is going on, Andrew? What is up with you? What do you have going on this month? What did you just recently
Ooh, this
do?
month is busy. Okay, so I'm gonna see you this weekend at Plowden's, right?
Yes, yes,
Yes,
yes.
I'll be there. And then the battle, and then the week after, John Polidi's having his tournament, the Greater Toronto Open, in the same, roughly in the same vicinity as Mike's tournament. So it's just a local, but I mean, it's a nice tune-up. And then a week after, U.S. Open, right? So back to back to back. And the weekend that I'm not doing anything, I'll be DJing, as like I usually do on the weekends that I'm off. So I don't have any off weekends. I'm always busy doing something. And
Yeah.
that's in addition to the stuff I'm doing in with the school during the week. So it's graduation, the stuff next 2 weeks. So yeah, busy during the day and at night.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's busy.
By the way, I love your mixes on Mixcloud that you put out there, man.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Those things are dope.
Yeah, a lot of time and work to put into those. Yeah, so
Yeah, that's over my head. That's for sure.
yeah, I just want to get the thing is the purpose. I just want to get the music out there before everybody else. So like I just want to get it out there in everybody's ears. So that's why I put it out as soon as I do for
Dude,
everybody
yeah,
here.
let's shout out this Brett Shumway. Let's
Brett
announce
Shumway.
how many generations of competitors have been influenced by Andrew. I know I was that little kid that grew up watching him and then move on to compete against him. That's pretty
Thanks,
awesome. Yeah, and Brett is coming back this weekend, so I'm excited. I'm going to be able to compete against him.
Oh, he's gonna be there too.
Yeah, he's going to be
Oh,
there
wow.
Friday, Saturday. So yep, so he's going to be competing.
I'm
He's
gonna have
gonna
to come down earlier then, because I was gonna come down Saturday afternoon, but I'm trying to come down earlier.
Yeah. So it's going to be cool to see him and compete against him. He's actually a lot closer than me than I need to just go and hang out because he's in the Delaware area. So
Okay.
yeah, but
Well, actually, I'm in a little bit of Brett's position as well. Like,
yeah,
I remember when I started competing, when I first was out there, and I was nervous as all get out. Andrew was already a vet, right? He was already in the game for years. Everybody knew who Andrew was. And we were in the same division. And now, a couple decades later, I'm retired, but not you.
No.
Look at that. You preceded me and succeeded me. And I was around for a couple decades.
I think I'm the one that's been around the longest, because Terry's not competing as much anymore, right? So
right.
So I don't know if I'm going to surpass him or not, but like I'm still out there, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
What
Terry's
the whole
been
show's
around,
about, right?
you know. Yeah. I mean, Terry had that run. I mean, really, KA had a huge run.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So those guys, I'm sure there's some others that we're forgetting, but I feel like they had a pause or a break or whatever. You know what I mean? So, I mean, even like someone like Rocky DeRico did it for a super long time, and then he took a break, and then he came back, and then he took a break, and then
he's hinting of coming back. When I spoke to him at Ocean State, I think he's petitioning for a 70 plus, and he says if they open that, he's gonna probably do it.
Wow, that's
70 plus.
70
Why do you need to just if he's gonna come back, he should just come back.
Yeah.
Right. What's up, Akin? Well, that's like
he's here. Akin's here.
He's here. I competed with Skipper Ingram, right? And he was 84 years old when I competed against him. All right, Skipper Ingram was from Bermuda, right? He just passed away, I think, last year or 2 years ago, and he was well into his 80s competing.
You know, and the thing is, he was a ripped 80-year-old, right? He would like take his gi off, and I was like, damn, I want to look like that, like now.
Yeah, dude, it's nuts doing this, all the the sunshine breathing and everything, and just it was pretty cool. So guys, there is motivation to still do this. All right, like there's no point that says, oh, you got to stop when you're this age, or you got to stop when you're this age, or whatever,
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to talk about here. What are some of the goals that have kept you into it? And I'll share the same thing for me, especially of doing this so long. What year do you think? How long have you been doing martial arts there, Andrew?
I started in 1988, but I started competing on on NASCA in 1991, Diamond Nationals 1991, and I've been going ever since.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Just when it comes to goal setting, there's always going to be something, right? So when I was younger, I was like every other kid, how they are right now. Everything would be short term. I want to win first place at this tournament, or I want to get this trophy and things like that. As I got older, I started looking ahead, right? So basically, in my 20s and early 30s, my mindset was, what do I want to leave with a sport when I actually do leave? What kind of mark do I want to have? What kind of impact do I want to leave on these people? What kind of impression do I want to leave on these people? So you have to think things like that. You have to understand also, when it comes to our sport, there are a lot of things that you can do. It's not just about NASCA, right? I mean, there's you can do the WACO thing, you can do the WKC thing, etc. So there's a lot of things that you can do, and even like little tiny goals that you can look forward to that keep you motivated, right? For example, and I don't think too many people know this, I actually quietly retired at the end of 2019, right? Like I didn't compete at all in 2020 except for a few locals, but I wasn't planning to do any more NASCA. But but COVID hit, right? And then I got bored. So my goal, and I started it this year fully because we weren't allowed to travel last year. So I just want to get one of my first post-pandemic title. Like that's my goal. It's small, right, compared to what I've done in the past, but at least it's something to work for, right?
Right.
So there's always some sort of goal.
Yeah. And I know for me, I started in 88 as well. I'm a few years younger than you.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been in this 35 years now, I believe. So, and for me, it was, of course, you start with the goal of being a champion, right? Actually, my first goal was to be on Karate Helps Kick Diabetes. That was my goal. That was one of my goals. But
you did that, right?
Yes, but in order to do that, I had to actually be number one in my division. That was pretty much the prerequisite of it.
That's right.
In NASCA or NBL, right? So it was like one thing to get to another, right? That was one of my things. And also it's like growing up, learning under John Valera, for me, it's kind of like people always ask, and a lot of times I don't know, sometimes like I feel like I've accomplished a lot, but I still have never accomplished like what like when you're saying you're trying to like be the next, when your instructor is like the greatest, right? It's kind of like, it's hard to compare. You always have something to shoot for. You know what I mean? Like you're like, okay, so I'll never be that, which maybe you could. In a lot of ways, if you look at it, I've had way longer of a career than John Valera. Yeah. I've probably won more.
That's a good point.
More things, when you really think about it, like number or tournaments and first places. Same thing with you, Andrew, because we've just gone into it more and more. But we don't have the impact that he has.
That's the thing. Like John left. Like John left a very strong mark when he left back in 1999, right? So at Diamonds, when he won the 2 grands, and then he ended the way things began. He brought his parents in. That little tiny thing I will remember for the rest of my life, because not only was I there, it was just like, if I go out soon, that's the way I'm going to go out as well. Like I would like my parents to be there as well. So like I said, things that he did will go in the back of people's minds, because it's a long lasting memory, right?
Exactly. And that's for me is something that always, like, that's what I want to, aspire to. So it's just always like, there's always more, there's always more, there's
always like tiny things.
Exactly. And it's just like, so it always makes it, well, I could do this. John did this. I haven't done that because John did that. Or I haven't done this, or haven't, and there's different things, for me, it was always doing it as my way, right? Mm-hmm. Like being a kicker in a tricking world. That was, so I always had like that chip on my shoulder of doing it a certain way, and with kind of like being the underdog, right? Mm. So that was kind of the thing. And now it's the same thing with Korean. It's like being the Korean competitor against all the Japanese competitors and trying to win overall in NASCA.
Yeah, but you have a goal. You have a goal for this year, because you have to still get that Korean title.
Yeah,
I
know. I have to go to all the tournaments. All right, I still have to do that. I have to go to all the tournaments. All right, that's the problem. I probably won't. I don't know about that, but
You know what the funny thing is? I checked the ratings last night. I think I'm number one in Korean.
See, you're gonna get the title this year, man.
What? No.
But yeah, so I mean, there's always something else. Alex, go ahead and say where you're going. I'm going to.
Well, yeah, I wanted to piggyback off of what you guys were saying about the John retirement moment, because Andrew, like you mentioned, like I was there too, just looking up at the stage, like, oh man, it's like it was almost like you were front row of a rock concert.
Well, that's what it was. Because remember, he took like 5 minutes to walk into the ring. Like, where's John? And his music was going. And they came in and everybody went dead silent. Like, who can do that? Nobody. I don't think anybody in today's time can do that.
The thing about it, and if you remember the moment, before the performance was finished, you knew we were going to be talking about this moment for years. I mean, look, it was 1999.
Yeah.
Kalman Choka's final performance, that's it. I would talk about that in the same conversation as that.
Yeah, 100%.
So, are there a lot of moments like that? Maybe a handful, maybe 10, maybe, but I don't know.
I'll throw another one in there too. Someone like Keith Weston, when he steps into the ring, the impact that he leaves on people, like he gets people to cry after he performs, right? That's the kind of impact that you should strive for, not a trophy here, a title there. It's the impact that you have on the people after you perform. So, like for example, when I went to a tournament in, I think it's Birmingham, England, the Unity tournament, you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. So I won the Grands there in 2013, and then a bunch of people just sent me messages, and they were saying, I'm so glad that I traveled 3 hours to watch you. That was an exhilarating performance and things like that. But it's things like that. I didn't even care about winning. It was the fact that I got feedback like that from the audience and from people I've never heard of before. That's what you should strive for, is the impact that you leave on the audience after you perform, right? Like, it would be nice to win, for example, a Warrior Cup, which I've never won, or a diamond ring. But like, ultimately, it's your performance, whether you win or lose. That's what matters to me, anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And so going back just to the John thing. So the first time John won like an adult NASCA overall, he was literally like sleeping when he was supposed to go up. All right. Like at the Battle of Atlanta in 95, like he's taking a nap. And then all of a sudden they're like, come there up, and he gets up, gets off the chairs and just goes up and just wins. It's like, dude, like, so honestly, in my mind, I'm thinking he fell asleep again. This guy.
Having that little piece of information, that annoys the heck out of me, because I never was like crazy nervous fighting. Like, oh man, I'm so nervous, I gotta fight. Like, who would it be? Ray. Like, I've been nervous, to fight Ray before, because it's Ray, right? You want to win, and a lot of times when I would fight against him, nobody beat him that year. Maybe Jason. And so, like, yeah, there's things to be nervous about, but I never really got nervous. The forms is just a whole nother level. Like, I was crazy nervous, right? And just sometimes I compete against you, and I'm like, I better bring it today, man. I don't know how I'm gonna have the performance of my life if I'm gonna win today, right? And you would think about that sometimes. So hearing John just pop up and just be like, oh yeah, dust this off, and then come out there and win the Grand. See. Oh, look at this! Looks like I was something special.
We got some form stuff of.
I did do forms, but it was interesting. I mentioned it before. Like, I started a few years after you guys did. I started in '92, and I started hitting a couple national tournaments pretty soon after. I didn't really start hitting them consistently until probably the year 2000, which was a massive change in the year. Once you hit the year 2000, everything kind of changed. And like I mentioned, I remember Andrew was already like deep in it. He was like a vet, and I was just crazy nervous. I don't think that whole year, I don't think I spoke to like 3 people. Right? I was so nervous, right? Everyone I talked to, I'm like, I can't beat them. I better show the heck up. So I don't know, man. Fighting was a little different. You don't really have to say anything. You kick someone in the face, you kick someone in the face. All right.
Right.
You punch someone in the chest, you punch someone in the chest.
So let's talk about that a little bit, Alex, because there is a little bit of the longevity, right? In forums, honestly, like for myself, I started out in an era where it was just open, right? It was open forums, but I started.
No, there's no CMX.
Yeah, I started competing in what you would call creative form. That would be what I did, right? And then I went into NBL and started learning traditional.
Look at that. Look at that.
All right.
Kicks on the knee. And Jeff, I'm sorry, I'm stepping on your toes and I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. But see, that's the things that did it. Like when you talked about, like when you started, you came out and open, right? Yeah. But guys were still trying to, like you said, they were trying to, jump through the air and do everything they could as far as difficulty went with their tricking. And you were like, kicking is better. Let me do this. And you did do the different things like the machine gun kicks on the knee and then do the twist kick hold for
the talking hands.
The talking hands.
Yeah.
Talking hands.
So it was always something that kind of went from a different thing. Then I went into and focused more on my Shotokan, which is funny because a lot of people don't know that my first NASCA world title, because the first one was a national title, that was in Japanese forms. That was in Japanese forms. So I won.
Out of here.
Yeah, bro. I'm again, like I've said, I'm a Shotokan black belt as well as a Taekwondo and freestyle. So I have all, I'm a full-on martial artist. And so
well, this is true.
I went to that, then went back to the music. What was funny was in NASCA, I was doing traditional because it was just traditional. It wasn't, Japanese or Korean. And then in NBL, I was winning musical. I wasn't even doing traditional. And that's what was so funny. It's like I was the world champion in traditional and Japanese and NASCA and was contending for musical forms titles in NBL. So that's what's kind of cool, right? It's like being able to find different things that could be your thing. In 2009, 2010, I didn't even do Korean forms. All right. I stopped and I just focused on musical forms. And then 2011 is when I started doing Korean forms and just that became my thing. So there's always things back and forth that you can kind of do. And, like even you right now, Andrew, you are coming back and doing Korean again. You took
I haven't done it since, I'm trying to think now, like 2012.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's always something else that you can kind of do, right? For me as well, I took 10 years off or maybe more of doing kamas. I was doing chucks for a while. I was not doing weapons. I was just doing Korean. Now I'm back to doing kamas and it's like I've fell in love with these weapons again. It's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
I like your kama form better.
So,
I like your kama form better.
Me too. I do too. But I needed that break to kind of, get back.
That's a good point.
And that is what's cool about forms and martial arts. There's something for everyone, right? Yeah. There definitely is. Let's talk about it though in the fighting thing, because again, for me, it was for fighting, especially going to NBL. All right, you know what? I'm going to focus on point fighting. You know what? I'm going to focus on continuous fighting this year. This is something different. This is kind of cool. The other element is maybe really enjoying team fighting, right? But there's not as many of the realms and the varieties and the divisions as there is in forms. So, Alex, kind of dive into that of maybe like keeping that longevity and that going with fighting, with point fighting.
Yeah, that one I could speak on a little more. So I mean, I think I mentioned this before. I probably did. I've repeated enough stories over and over. I probably said this before. So I actually kicked around retiring back in like 2011. All right. Strange as that is, right? Went another like 10 years almost after that. And that was when I moved to Illinois. I thought, you know what? New chapter, new everything. Just leave that. It was a great life. Was still going to stay in it. I was still a martial arts professional.
Thank you.
And I kept going. And the reason I kept doing it is there was a bunch of kids here that wanted to do private lessons, and they just wanted me to train with them. Now, Minnesota did not have the culture of doing a lot of private lessons. There was a few people that did that. Like anybody who wanted to train with Suzanne Wankett. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That's what I said. There was like a few people that would do that. Right. And obviously when the Suzanne trains, like she was very successful with them. They had a lot of success. So that makes sense. So it wasn't, but other than that, there wasn't a lot of like, nobody did anything for fighting. Heck no. Right.
Right.
And even in the state is what I'm talking about. So when I came here, there was a different culture. Like a lot of people would just seek out and do that. Like not just within like one school, just like the Chicagoland area wide. And so I started competing again because I'm like, let me just show them what I'm talking about. Right? Yeah, you can do this. And then for me, it was the different people that I got to fight. So, and I'm like, all right, I can get behind this a little bit more. I can get behind this a little bit more. I haven't really fought with these guys before. Then you see guys like Josh Howard, and you're like, man, you're still going? I could keep going. Right. And then it was so I kind of fell in love with it again. And then, you do different things. Like you go to different events. I did the Irish Open and I'm like, all right, well, this is another resurgence of energy. I want to do that again. Do the WKC Worlds. And you're like, all right, this is a resurgence of energy. I want to do that again. But like, all right, put it like this. My homie, Greg Betlock, okay? He did not have the same experience. He felt like, and I'm using his words, and I don't care, Greg, whatever. I'm quoting you. I don't care. He was like, it's the same guys, man. It's just the same. It's over and over again. It's the same people. Let me guess. I'm going to fight Jason Borelli. I fought him a dozen times. I'm going to fight Ray. I fought him a dozen times. I mean, like that friend in his mind, he's like, I mean, that's it. That's the mountaintop. Right. I'm like, in that point, like Johnny's retired, he had matches against him. And there really wasn't in his mind. He's like, it just kind of felt exhausting to him. And he felt like he was repeating the same thing year after year after year. And sometimes guys feel that way. And so it is challenging. And for me, I had a different experience. I had a totally different environment that I was in. I had a different reason why to keep going. And then I had different milestones to achieve that I'd never been a part of before, which was strange enough. Like, how did I go that long and not be a part of that event or that event or that event? Yeah. What about you guys, though? Because you guys did every tournament under the sun for decades. What is it when for forms? I mean, Jeff, you kind of mentioned a little bit when it came to switching weapons.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and switching leagues, and both of us did this very well. We both did NBL and NASCA
in the same year.
In the same year, and won both. And Andrew has done a lot of the WKA and the WKC and the WKU and stuff. So explain a little bit of that, of maybe that of doing the different, that country versus country aspect, which maybe a lot of us don't know about.
Well, doing WKC and WKA/WKU, it provides a totally different experience because you're competing against people from different countries, and that's way different from what you're doing when you're competing in North America. You're seeing new faces, you're seeing just new talent, and the hard part is actually the competition itself is a challenge because you don't know who you're facing. Okay? I mean, you could dig up information and videos on some of your opponents, but a lot of them don't have stuff on YouTube, right? So you can't check out your competition beforehand. It's not like competing against someone here in North America where you go on YouTube or you go on any other site that has videos. You can check people out. You can't do that with a lot of the European competitors because they don't get the same kind of publicity, right? So there's that. Another good thing about the world competitions is that, again, just meeting new people from new countries. That's why at the end of each Worlds, you exchange your jackets with another person in another country. It's just the camaraderie
thing to do.
Yeah, the camaraderie that you get, you cannot get in circuits like NASCA or NBL. But like I said, it's a totally different experience. And that's why I like doing those kind of tournaments, because I get to leave the country and competing on the other side of the world. Again, it just feels different. It's just the vibe of the entire event is just totally different from what we experience over here. So
I got a question on that though.
Yeah.
Did you find it strange at all competing on the same team with somebody, rooting for somebody who maybe just a few weeks before you were like, yeah, I'm gonna beat you. Did you find it strange? Was it like a conflicting feeling inside?
You know what? I guess it's a Canadian thing because we all, for the most part, get along. So we're cheering each other on, whether it's at a NASCAR tournament or at a world event. So it's never like it's. I don't get that. It's nothing different for me anyway.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So
Brett, it's funny because Brett and I had this conversation. And he was like, "I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just this is weird to me. I still don't understand it yet." But because again, he came up in the NBL and was like, "All right, it's." You work all year long to get to this point, and you're trying to win this for you, So,
Yep.
and I came with the same thing, just a different aspect with doing NASCAR and NBL. I've done WKA, and WKA was at the time WK and WACO were the two world organizations, and really they were both just as big as each other. They're pretty much equal because WKA was really big in kickboxing, even more in some ways. Because all the guys, all the judges, the WKA, they were all certified WKA referees for K1. All the K1 guys were, and that's all. Remember those? All those guys were WKA referees.
Yeah.
So that was really interesting. So it was really big there. Also, WKA had traditional forms and more forms styles than WACO had at that time. And I believe they even had more.
WACO doesn't have traditional.
No, they didn't have traditional, but they also didn't have as many of the forms divisions. Now they have a little bit more.
Yeah.
They have 4 divisions. They don't have the soft style though, like they used to. So
they get rid of that?
Yeah, they got rid of that because Wushu is a IOC certified.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that's why. Yep. So there's a lot of different things with that. But I had a lot of fun going to WKA Austria in Vienna. It was really cool atmosphere, great competitors, great competition. But again, for me, it was the top competitors for the most part were the Canadians and the Americans. But in the adult side of the forms things, there were some really good guys from Greece and Germany.
Germany always comes in strong. It's for traditional.
Yeah.
And England too. England has a lot. England has a lot of good Shotokan people.
Yes. And even in open style as well, they had, of course, you had Chloe that was really big in WK as well.
Yeah.
And then ended up doing in WACO. So it was really, really cool to see that. For me, one of the things that I'm doing, and I got this year, I kind of was like, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do everything. And then I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And honestly, this week, I almost convinced myself not to do AAU Taekwondo, right? And I was like, oh, it's just too much going on. And I don't know. And none of my students are really going to do it. And then I said, you know what? I'm just going to go and I'm going to do it. And go and do something completely different by myself. And it's like competing in 4 different divisions I've never done before, in a style head to head that I've never done before, and just go and do it and not worry about it. Right. And so I got a ticket, $70 ticket to Florida, and going on a Tuesday and then flying back Thursday.
When is that?
Tuesday. It's July 4th week. It's literally starts.
You're not going to US Open?
No, it starts the day after US Open. So I'm just focusing on doing that because again, that was just my thing. It's like this year I wanted to try those things. Yeah. And for me to lead this whole Korean challenge thing, I need to do that, right? I need to really be that person.
It's part of your professional growth. Right?
Exactly.
So you need to immerse yourself in that environment for you to perform in that manner, right? That's exactly. Like I'm just reading Kyle's comment right now. So when I wanted to focus on the traditional stuff, I started doing the Karate Ontario stuff. I mean, I didn't do well in it, but at least I got my feet wet in that arena, right? Because that's what I wanted to do. That's why if you want to get better at something, you have to go in that environment, right? the greatest amount of growth happens when you venture out of your comfort zone, and that's exactly what you have to do in order for you to get well in that, right?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah, I mean, same thing.
you mentioned you wanted to do everything this year. It's actually, if anybody's chasing that goal, you have to keep in mind that a lot of these things have conflicting dates. For example, if you're planning to do WKC, WKU, and NASCA this year, that's going to be tough to do because all of them are landing within that same weekend of Diamond Nationals, where WKU ends, Diamond Nationals takes place at the same time. So is WKC. So when it comes to achieving goals, you have to look ahead on the calendar that's being presented to you. That's why when there's certain goals that I had doing NBL, NASCA, WKC, and WKA, I always kept that into consideration. So, for example, in 2011, my goal was to win titles in the same divisions, both for WKA and WKC. The good thing about that is that WKA that year was in August and WKC was in October. So that was attainable. And I was still able to do the NASCA stuff, right? So, timing has a big role to achieving your goals. So that's why when it comes to planning tournaments and things like that, you always have to plan ahead, right? Because you'll never know. Like, a lot of these dates will be conflicting. Right?
Okay, wait a minute. That brings us to a moment that I want to bring up. Okay, so doing all of these things that you're mentioning, Andrew, that is exhaustingly taxing.
Yeah.
To do all of that, to say like, okay, I want to do this, 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 and this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do it. And if like what's preventing you is that they're at the same time.
Yeah.
Even if they weren't, what would that mean? All 52 weekends of the year is accounted for.
They're all taken up. Yeah. Well, even this year,
man.
Like this year, and I'm obviously I'm older now. Like I actually have the busiest tournament schedule I've had since I think 2012 because I'm basically going to be in and out doing tournaments and others, and for the most part, like from now until September. So, for example, I finished school in June 29th. That's our last day of school. Right after school, I'm going straight to Orlando for US Open. I come back from Orlando, I put my head down, and I'm flying off to Kansas City to train Sandro Sanchez at Jarrett's school. Yeah. And then I come back for one day, and I'm going to fly off to the Philippines for a month. From the Philippines, I'm going straight to DC.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
And that right there, what you just described is part of the reason why I had to say, you know what? I think I'm done,
Yeah.
And I just had a couple of lifestyle milestone changes, 3 kids, that'll kind of do it,
Right.
But I mean, I got tired just hearing you say that.
Yeah. I was showing my itinerary to one of my colleagues, which has nothing to do with karate, and she was like, wow, you're going to be busy. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to be putting my head down. I'll be going to the new school year in September. I'm going to be exhausted. Not to mention, when I come back in August, so I'm going to do DC. Then a couple of weeks later, there's going to be AmeriKick. Right, the week after, actually Richie Everidge is going to have an event. The week after that is Las Vegas for the league. So there's my summer.
Okay, wait. You mentioned something that on my head, like I kind of tilted my head and went, "What did you say? The last day of school where you're at is June 29th?"
Yeah.
Wow.
We don't.
Ours was today.
We don't go back until after Labor Day, though.
Still, yeah.
Okay, wait a minute now. So my kid's last day of school was May 18th. Okay.
When do they go back?
They do go back. I think it's like August 17th or something like that. Okay. That's
still only 2 weeks. Yeah.
I know that. As a kid, I remember school was always done the first few days in June. Okay. Mm-hmm. If we had a wild snow season, which was uncommon, all right, you might have to go a couple days in. My birthday's on the 12th of June. One time in my life did we ever have school on my birthday, and it was the last day of school that year. It was always done before that. And we always start the day after Labor Day too. Well, that's what they did then. I don't know what they do now. But June 29th?
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy.
that's
That's
why
wild.
that's why I can't do trad challenge, because from what I understand, they're running it on that day. So I'm not able to do that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But thing is, US Open for me, for the most part, has always been that schedule. I fly out on the Thursday, like after school.
Right there. Yeah. Yeah.
Because we usually go to the end of the calendar, and sure enough, that this year that happens to be on the 29th, because the 30 is like they made it a holiday. So yeah, I fly on the 29th, go straight to US Open from school.
Yeah, he said Leandro says his daughter goes until the 20th. Wow. That's crazy. The school system here, at least Campbell County, ended today. Today was the last day. Some go tomorrow. Some ended last week. A lot of the private schools ended last
That
week.
seems
So,
a little
The private school that I went to, like I think it's the same one that Casey and Trevor's son goes to. They finish on Friday, and
Okay.
they're in the same area. They're just a
Seems
private
normal.
school. They're done on Friday.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it all depends on the district.
Right. All right. So one of the things that for me that I've had to do, and it's helped me a lot, is to really like write down all the events, but just like right now, just say next events to go to, and write down my goals and things that I want to get out of it. Right. And that helps me kind of not just, okay, I want to win this or I want to do this, but like, what do I want to grow? What's the impact I want to make by going to this event? And even for me, it's like this week, let's just say like I have a seminar on Thursday that I'm driving to before WKC Nationals. I have a seminar. So I write down my goals for that, inspire the team to see outside of their bubble, focus on intensity, eye contact, combinations, control. And then I write down, okay, for the tournament, of course, I want to win all 5 of my divisions, right? I want to put that. I want to push my gas tank, because what's cool about Nationals is that Friday you do 1 round, Saturday you do your 2nd round. So
in the reverse order.
Yeah. So
yeah,
you're going to go. So I do 5 divisions Friday, 5 Saturday. I want to really like see, push my gas tank, see how all those forms are going, and maybe even do, who knows, maybe do 10, I may do 15 different forms by the end of the weekend,
Well,
and
that's
then
That's wild.
That's the thing when I do WKC. So I am planning to do it next year, and I'll talk about the goal part in just a moment.
Yeah.
Basically with WKC, because it is a 2-day tournament. I mean, you have to plan your forms ahead, and I don't know how they do in the States, but in Canada they keep everything in the same ring for the adults. So you're performing in front of the same judges. The judges do not want to see you do the same form over and over again. So you have to plan, whatever, 5 or 6 different forms for that panel of judges, right?
Yep.
And I think too, on day 2, you get a totally different set of judges, and they might be looking for something totally different, right?
Yep.
So that's why, again, for WKC and any of the tournaments with the same format, you have to, first of all, you should know your competition, right? So planning ahead, seeing who's there, seeing and anticipating what they're going to do, you have to plan accordingly, right? So again, going back to goals, like I said, I tend to align my goals, not so much circuit oriented, but just I want to achieve something that, that separates me from the rest of the pack. So, going back to what I did in 2011, winning both WKA and WKC in the same division. So 2012, I won the same division for NBL and NASCA. Right. So, and that was actually theoretically my last Super Grands. So, for WKC, I've always wanted to win a gold medal in 18, 35, and 42. Well, I haven't won the one in 42 yet, because the year I was supposed to go in Spain, it was COVID, right? And I didn't wind up going last year. But now all of a sudden, I turned 48 this year, and guess what they made? A 48 division. So now I have to go into WKC to do 18, 35, 42, 48. So that's 4, right? And that's 8 forms. That's 8 katas in one day that I have to plan out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I know that's for me, it definitely something, next year when I go to 40, like I want to say I want to.
You're going to stay in 30 though.
Oh, I'm going to stay in 18, but yeah, I mean, I want to win an 18 plus, a 30 plus, and a 40 plus in the same turn.
Stay at a 40.
But yeah,
let me enjoy my last year in 40 before I go into 50 in 2025.
So listen to what you guys are saying. So as you guys are getting older and moving into another division, another category, you're actually doing way more than the young stud coming in. Like,
I mean,
let's
look,
just say a Mason Stoll.
You know what?
I'm using
And here's the
Mason.
thing.
Edgar did like 9-10 divisions. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
that was crazy.
Rommel, same thing.
All right.
Oh, Sam Diaz at Diamond Nationals, he was running back and forth. It was so funny watching him because he was going from ring to ring. The 18 and up was in the main room, and you guys, the 30 plus, you guys were in like that little closet.
We were in the side room, and then, but he was doing weapons, so I had to run back in there for a Korean. But we got most of our seniors done before then, so
Yeah.
it's just wild, man. Yeah, it is a whole different thing. It's fun though. I'll say one thing though, like, yeah, I mean, there's just so many different goals to do it. For me, it's inspiring people to continue doing what you love, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But always finding new ways, because some people will be like, well, you never really grew. You just did the same thing over and over and over forever. No, I've done a lot of different stuff.
Yeah.
I've tried everything within martial arts, but I also do more than just sport karate. You know, like I do a lot of wrestling. I do kickboxing. I've learned several different styles outside of sport karate based styles, you know? And I think that's something that, like, because of me being able to get out of my comfort zone within this sport martial arts, like trying something new and going and trying to get a medal and an NBL belt in soft style one year, right? And I did. I got a 3rd place belt in soft style, and I had the biggest division of soft style in years, like 13 people, and I got 3rd place.
I won 2 golds in soft style WKC 2009, 2011 soft style.
See, like stuff like that, like being able to just say, hey, I'm going to do something this year and learn it and do it.
Yep.
It helps you in other things in life, right?
Yeah.
Going out and being a public speaker, you know, trying a new goal, you know, maybe doing, who knows, doing again, you guys being DJs, right? I mean, all of
that was like starting as a white belt all over again.
Yeah. You know?
No kidding. All I'm doing is I'm just making money trying to be a blue belt. But hey, I got a question for you guys though, because you've done more tournaments and are still doing them than every other competitor combined right now. If you had to say, and it's probably gonna be hard, but if you had to say, like, what are the 2 best tournaments you've ever been to? And I don't mean like the Bluegrass Nationals, I mean the tournament and the year. What were your favorite events that you were personally at?
Okay, not factoring in results, it's the experience itself.
Yes. Or the results.
My first Diamond Nationals in 1991 will always be, I'll always remember that. Because,
I mean, that was a fantastic one.
Just the intensity of that evening was, I've never experienced anything else or ever again in my life. Like, that was the year Charlie Lee did a demo with both John and Carmichael.
Yep.
They all did Twilight Zone. That has never happened after that.
Right.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah. That was the year that happened.
Isn't that the year that it was Ho Sung Pak that got all 10s?
Ho Sung Pak got perfect 10s. Yes, that was the year. And then Gabriel Naga had to follow up after that when he got like a few 10s after that. But that was the year that Ho Sung Pak won with all 10s.
That's wild. So the 91 diamonds. What else?
91 diamonds. I'm trying to think now. I'm just trying to think something more recent. I don't know what year, but I'm going to have to say honestly, pick a more like recent year for Quebec Open. I would have to throw that in there just because they provide an experience again that no other tournaments provide, especially with their stage. The fact that yes, it is in Canada, but it's in French Canada, which feels like another country anyway. So just the experience of going there is I always tell people, if you're going to go to one event, one NASC event, it's going to be that one, because that one gives you a feel like the same feel that you would if you go across the pond, right? So
right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Brett. Well, we'll see about the creative bow, man. My hands hurt now. I don't know about that.
That was always fun, dude. I love watching your creative bow.
Yeah,
I love watching your open form. So you're.
Oh,
amazing.
I might bring that back when I'm in 2025. We'll see.
Do it.
I gotta
it.
see-
Put the years out. No, focus on what you got to focus on.
Oh man.
What about you, Jeff?
Oh man, it's really hard. There's so many. And one of the things is too, it's hard to say with Super Grands because Super Grands is a week long. It's like there's so much, but there were so many events. I remember to me that like Super Grands events that were just so epic, like just an amazing experience, a week long, and just like, whoa, that happened. All in this, like the 2000 Super Grands at Savannah is just the how much talent was there, and so many people from NBL and NASCA were there, and then you had SES and John Paul Mitchell and CJB or Team Elite, IDC and Kanai, Bay Area's Best, all these different ones, people from different, it was just really cool to be a part of that, right? Although for me, like even 2013 Super Grands was pretty epic. It was one of the biggest ones that there was, and they had it in Charleston, and just having competition, like the average division was like 25 to 30, at that event, right? And just the competition that was there. And for me, ending the week going head to head and losing about 1/100th to Singal for the overall grand in traditional, that was just really a big moment for me. And I'll never forget. And what's weird too is like, if I'm doing creative forms, you expect, all right, the crowd to be like pumped up, right? But I walked on stage for traditional and I was like shaking because that was how loud the crowd was. And this was at the overall, and it was just cool. And it was like that for me and Singal and Damien. It was just everybody was just pumped up. And so I'll never forget that. That was a lot of fun. The other one, man, I mean, it's hard to not like look at that 99 diamonds, with John. I mean, it's just
For sure.
that's just one of the best ever. And I'm one more that is a small one that a lot of people weren't at was the 2001 Great Southeast, and that was Rick and Nikki Lee's tournament in South Carolina, and they had everybody there, and they had SES versus CJB for a set fight, and they pretty much that was pretty much Nikki's last fight. Okay. And so she fought Tara Van Duzen, who beat her, the last person to beat her. And she was like, I'm going to beat you in my hometown and I'm going to whoop you. And yeah. And like, it was just epic, right? I won the grand there. John Sue. We're talking about a regional tournament in South Carolina. You have Jason Borelli, John Sue, Casey Nash, Regina Thompson, Brian Plimple. We already said Jason.
You could have said this was the Battle of Atlanta, and that would have made sense.
It was just insane at a regional tournament, and then you're talking about amazing competitors as well. There were juniors, Matt Bowles, Matt Mullins, everybody there. So it was really cool to see. So it's exciting to go back and be able to look at that. And one of the things is too, people like us who remember everything, we're the ones still in this. So I think one thing for me is dive into the sport and learn about it. When you
don't just go to YouTube, go to Black and Blue videos, go look at it.
Right.
Every other thing. Find Jimmy Cravens. He still has a massive archive, right? When he had Sport Karate Video, that's a throwback, right?
Yeah.
Go find that. It's out there. You got to find it. It's not just YouTube.
But for people like Andrew and myself who remember everything and know the records and know this and would read the magazines, all that, like we're still into it because there's always a new record that, hey, you know what? No, I know someone never did this before. hey, this is a new thing I can create. This is, so you're always finding that. So I say dive into the sport, learn more about it, and you'll find a new place or a place where maybe you can leave your mark, right?
Well, that's the thing, right? Everybody's just thinking about the now, right? So, I mean, you have to, again, go back to the fact that you want to think in a sense that, what kind of impact are you going to leave on the people when you leave the sport? You have to have that mark. You take, for example, someone like Nate Andrade, who wasn't really winning the divisions. Like, I mean, think about that. But look at the impact that he left on the sport. Like every single boat trick that you see out there, chances are it came from him. Right. So even though he wasn't winning, he left that big mark for everybody to remember. Right. That's why when people talk about weapons competitors, I just find it hard to believe that his name always gets left out of the conversation when he was part of the.
He pioneered a lot.
Yeah, he's a pioneer of what you see out there, right? I mean, the only reason why people don't really know him because again, he wasn't winning the first or the grand. I don't think he won an adult grand during our time, right? Because he was losing to John Valera and Mike Chat. He was the third place guy.
Yeah.
Right. Because we didn't have bladed and unbladed back then.
No. Yeah. I mean, I look at someone like him and even like Joey Greenhall as guys that really push the sport with the bow and so yeah, I mean, it's really there's always something for you to leave your mark at. Just find it, you know what I mean? And remember that it's not just about the trophy. Who are you inspiring? For me, my students love competing and they compete more and they do more private lessons when I compete. Okay?
Here's another piece of advice too.
Especially it is the way it is. It's kind of crazy, but it is the way it is.
Also, especially for the younger people, okay, you can win all the trophies and all the titles you want, okay, but your conduct is what is the most important. You can win 1,000 titles, but if you screw up once with your attitude, people will remember that screw up versus
it's
the
all
1,000.
they remember.
It's all they remember. Someone pointed out, I was just having a conversation with someone at Quebec Open. We basically have the same student. Like I don't teach karate, but we share the same students. And the one thing that this person told me, it was like, people are watching you, and just that alone, I know not to act up at tournaments because again, you don't know who's watching you, right? You can win all this stuff, but the moment that you start beaking off at a judge, you start swearing, people will remember that, okay, and not the stuff that you want. So that you won. So it's very important that you carry yourself positively in the environment, and because again, the one time that you mess up, people are gonna remember that. So
and it doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot. I was never a guy who was like an outright a-hole in the ring, but there might be like interactions I might have that were like dismissive to somebody, right? That's all they remember me for. There's one specific. I'm not going to get into it because it'll just go longer. But I was pretty dismissive to somebody when they were like, "Hey, I'm going to do this," and I'm like, I basically said, "Yeah, okay, right." And that's all they can remember, right? Yeah. And yeah, everyone's watching. Everyone's trying to experience you. I mean, think of how we started the show. We started talking about guys like Kevin Thompson, all right, and who we looked up to, and we were like, "Oh my gosh, can you believe it?" John Valera, right? Yeah. Imagine if they had that kind of interaction with us. We wouldn't look at them. We wouldn't revere them that way. That might taint us. All right. Who knows? You know what? I know we gotta fly, but I want to throw out a couple of tournaments for me that were like, you know what? These were the ones for me. You guys both brought up the 99 diamonds. And I actually think the 98 diamonds was kind of it for me. The 98 diamonds was the first one that we went to that new, well, at the time, like arena and the Roy Wilkins Auditorium, that we were like, this is amazing. This is perfect for a finals, right? Yeah. And John Chung had his Jungle Care sidekick team of 500 people, and it was like, this is a sea of red. This is so cool, right? Never seen something like this. At least I hadn't, right? Cool. But you know what? I think 2014 might have been one of the best years for sport karate, like all around. And I think the Irish Open in 2014 was better than the Battle, the U.S. Open, and the Diamonds. I think that one was probably the best experience. And that's hard not to say something like the 95 or 96 Diamonds or like the 2006 Bluegrass. All right. But, you know, it's hard, man. You got all these experiences.
All right, guys. Andrew, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Man, this has been a great one. All right, Alex.
This has been another episode of Inside Scoop with Alex and Jeff. I'm Alex Dingman.
I'm Jeff Dawes. See you next week.